And we're back. I'm Jack, your British gun. Today we got the 5 ways British and American grocery stores are very different. Let's go.
In the other country, why not play a game of, oh look, it's that thing we have back home, but they call it something wildly different. Isn't this fun?
I think I have this on a little bit too
Hello, I'm Lawrence,
fast.
and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to grocery stores, or should I say, supermarkets.
Well, I will go into this with a guess that, I think the main big American stores are 10 times bigger than shops that I would shop in. We have our shops, we call them almost convenience stores because they are convenient, they're small, they're not these huge massive things you see in films I've seen in America
for about nearly 5 years.
But we're very interested to see what happens.
I don't think I've really ever touched on the major differences between grocery stores and supermarkets. That is probably because the nauseating experience of walking around said stores is second only to malls. I'll be honest with you, we get our shopping delivered. Haven't had to walk into a grocery store in about 3 years. But I did do some research, so it's fine. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 5 big ways that British and American grocery stores / supermarkets are so very, very different.
Shout out Tesco, I hope they're on this list.
You can probably imagine the layout of American grocery stores tends to be slightly different to that of Britain, but that makes sense. I mean, the United States itself is laid out quite differently to Britain. I don't just mean it's a different shape, I mean it incorporates different shapes. I did a video on this. Basically, America is obsessed with rectangles. Anyway, that's not connected to today's video. I think this difference might have changed a little bit in recent years. For instance, it's a common practice in both countries now to put the fresh veg right near the entrance section to give this illusion of health as you walk in.
If I think about it,
everything falls apart. But other than that, as you're walking around the stores in both countries, you will see the odd difference, sometimes very odd.
But they won't be loose.
So, for instance, in some British grocery stores / supermarkets, you might find the eggs not in the dairy section. What's that all about? And since I've moved to America, that seems to make sense, right?
But you keep eggs in the fridge, right? We don't, so eggs are just on the shelves, like in their packets, but not
the milk, the whipped cream. And sort of genre-wise, that does make sense. But sometimes you will find things like eggs just hanging around with the beans in England and not refrigerated either. That's a shocking thing for a lot of Americans when they see that. The wine section might be found in a different spot to where you'd find it in US grocery stores. Across both countries, though, it's always going to differ, especially depending on the actual store itself. So keep an eye out for that.
Wines tend to be near the back of shops.
Is our next entry.
Size.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, size is not everything, though you probably wouldn't believe that if you saw the difference between UK supermarkets and American grocery stores. I used to think as a kid that whenever my mum would drag me around Asda, which is one of our major supermarkets, that particular supermarket was
used to be owned by
absolutely
Walmart.
Huge. And then I moved to America and I was equally dragged around Walmart.
So I can, if I pause correctly here.
And then I moved to America and I was...
So a lot of the shops, other than the big supermarkets, but you'd have one big supermarket and about 20 convenience stores, we call them. About 2 of those aisles, maybe 3, would be the size of a normal shop. That's a normal everyday shop that people go to buy their food. Would be about maybe 3 aisles.
Equally dragged around Walmart.
And
in recent years, the comparison between the two has become quite apt, and that is because Walmart owns Asda. But the fact remains that Asda, most of them
not anymore, but
located
they did
within their own zip code.
I actually used to work for
Whereas
Asda.
Walmart, it might as well have its own zip code. They're absolutely huge. They're so large, in fact, that just walking around the perimeter is enough for your weekly exercise. Which I suppose is good considering all of the calories that you're about to buy. And because Walmart, and to a lesser extent Kroger, are absolutely massive, that means you have the following.
Variety.
In the United Kingdom, nationwide, you've got the likes of Sainsbury's, Tesco, Morrison's, Asda. So we have choice in that regard, but once you get inside the stores, we probably don't have quite as much to offer as the United States, who, for instance, provide you with about 27 varieties of Coca-Cola. I haven't tried them all. In fact, I've barely tried any.
I think we've got 3.
The rule seems to be that the brighter the packaging,
0 diet,
the more
normal
varieties there'll be, and also the brighter the packaging, the least healthy it'll be. So to reiterate, American aisles have more variety than British aisles. That was a joke, wordplay. British aisles, you got it. We're good. Walmart has such variety, you can even buy auto parts. They're usually at the back of the store, which is not the best place between you and me, because what if you're buying a big hefty tyre? How are you going to get that out?
True.
You could roll it, that's true. In fact, that sounds amazing. I might do that next time I'm in Walmart. I've just remembered I'm never going back.
But again, that's it. All the ones that he said that are actually they are supermarkets. They are bigger, not bigger than the Asda like you're seeing here, like your WalMarts, but like convenience stores are the more everyday thing now. Like a lot of those big companies he said over here, Morrison's, Tesco, are actually now more expanding into the smaller shops, which I said about 3 aisles. Like it's
So we're good. And I don't drive.
it's
And speaking
it's
of
crazy.
purchases, once you get to the till
But you can get
cash
everything.
register, there's another chief difference between our two countries.
Sales tax.
I have to admit, this one got me long before I moved to the United
VAT,
States
what
when
we
I was
call that,
visiting the
right?
state of Maine in 2004. I walked into a music shop, as you do. I much prefer music shops to supermarkets anyway. And I purchased a ukulele. I think I talked about this very recently. And in doing so, of course, I looked at the price. $15, which is cheap. Don't ever do that again. It was good while it lasted, but it didn't last very long. So I took it to the counter expecting to pay exactly that in $3 $5 bills, only to be told, $17.32. I mean, I'm making that number up in hindsight. I didn't really get where that additional $2 came from. And it turns out that sales tax is applied at the point of sale, whereas in the United Kingdom, what you see on the price tag in the aisle itself is exactly what you'll pay for that item.
Into the fact as well that if something said £1 and you went out to there and they said this is £1.80, you can go, no, that says £1. And they have to sell it to you for what it says. I don't know if that's the same as... But, that's weird to me.
So there's no surprises when
So how could you calculate...
I should say that, I think in
your
England,
shopping?
even when I'd go grocery shopping, I didn't calculate in my head each item as I went along, so I never really had a great idea about what that total was going to be anyway. It's usually when you're just purchasing single items this problem first arises. But anybody that's visiting America from the UK who usually doesn't give a second thought to VAT, you will have to give thought to sales tax, which is kind of the equivalent here of VAT. And like I said, that sales tax is not applied to the whole store before you even go in. You'll see it applied to your receipt.
That's crazy.
After the fact. It's not a huge deal. I got used to it, after a couple of years. One thing I'm still getting used to, though, is our final entry.
Brands.
Yes, brand differences. And I'm not talking about, this particular brand that you simply can't get an equivalent of in the UK. No, I'm talking about the exact same object, or typically food item, that has the same font and everything and look about it, but a completely different name. Take, for instance, Axe versus Lynx.
Oh, Lynx.
They're deodorants.
Walkers, Lay's.
I'm not suggesting these are all food items, but if you are a 14-year-old boy, you know what Axe deodorant is. Or Lynx. They are exactly the same thing. They both have an X in it, much like an inordinate amount.
Yeah, I don't know why they would.
Actually, you've got TJ Maxx versus TK Maxx. You've got ExxonMobil versus Esso. You've got Dove versus Galaxy.
Stop it! You call Galaxy Dove. That is nonce behaviour.
Alexa, what are they going to change your name
That's
to?
crazy.
I don't have Alexa. That was just a joke. But if you're from the US and you go over to the UK and you're walking around the
Dove,
shopping
that
aisles, and
is
you're looking out for
disgusting.
crisps / potato chips, and you see one that looks a little bit like Lay's. Lay's, the American crisp company. It'll be called Walkers, but it has the exact same font. Everything else about it is the
why?
same, except for some of the flavours. Bear that in mind. And some of the chocolate seems to live in an entirely different universe. Literally, in some cases, like I said before, the British Galaxy bar is Dove in America. Milky Way is Three
Wow, Milky, that is my favourite chocolate. Three Musketeers.
And Mars is Milky Way.
What?
It's all one star cluster of monumental differences. And of course, there are absolutely loads.
I reckon
so
that's
next
'cause
time
there was
you're
a
in the other
cock-up.
country, why not play a game of, oh, look, it's
That's
that thing we
'cause
have
that was
back
a
home, but they
cock-up,
call it
whoever-
something
yeah,
wildly
that is-
different. Isn't this fun? You might get bored after a while. But send me your pictures. It will be amazing. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the...
Let me know what you think of that down below. Like, it's I'm going to check out some videos, especially on shops. I've seen a lot of people... I can't lie, I'm definitely copying some bigger reactors. they're watching shit about Walmart, and it's interesting, so I'll be checking that out as well. Look, let me know what you see down below, and of course, we're down. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.